This video is intended for viewers aged 13 and up. If you are not 13 yet, please leave. I'm looking for some bounties. Man who turns into a wasp and a group who turn into a bunch of odd sea creatures. What's up with that kid over there? And... Mano, get over here, we got him! Where are they? You know who we're talking about. Your little motley crew of pirates. You know, the Seacons. If you don't tell me, I'm going to kill you. Oh man, we're screwed. Hello everybody, my name is Kanohii, and welcome to figure review number 25. Whew, baby, we've come a long way since the start of the Iron Man-a-thon. I've moved since then. Yeah, I've gotten myself a nice little studio display. I've gone through a whole summer's worth of reviews. I've set up a little bit of a storyline, which may or may not get resolved a little bit in the next summer of reviews. Ooh, cheeky me. And I've bought a lot of toys. However, this has to be my most exorbitant purchase I've ever done for the show. These things were honestly a bit obscenely priced, but that's just because they're Generation Selects figures. But yeah, as you can see, the 25th review is going to be on a figure that not many other internet reviewers have been doing. The Transformers Generations Takara Tomy Generation Selects number 10, God Neptune. Now, I'll give a bit of background here at the start of this review for people who don't know who they are. So this team is a team of shameless repaints. So, back when Japan, back during the Beast Wars days, Japan needed to hold over their fans between seasons of, like, Beast Wars, and they didn't want to have Beast machines ever. So, what they did is they created their own show called Beast Wars 2nd, starring lovable characters like Leo Convoy, that bull one, that squid one. Yeah, I haven't seen it. But when they were getting around to the toys, a lot of them were original molds, and a lot of them were repurposed Beast Wars molds, which makes sense. However, they did something interesting. They took 5 members of the original Generation 1 combiner team, the Seacons, which for them, the combiner was known as God Neptune, but for us was known as Piranacon. And they took it, repainted those 5 members, and put them into Beast Wars 2nd, calling their combiner God Neptune and making them space pirates. We'll get more into that later. But then, like, super duper later, Takara in their Generation Selects line chose to remold a bunch of Power of the Primes figures into the Seacons, as they were the only combiner team who never got released during the Prime Wars trilogy. And then while they were at it, they were like, hey, why not release the set as our funny little Beast Wars guys, you know? And I don't know, maybe, I feel like it was mostly because it was an easy repaint, but maybe partially they knew about Kingdom. So back in May, this was before Kingdom leaks, I saw them, and I was like, I should probably get it. I never reviewed a Combiner Wars combiner. I've never had a Combiner Wars combiner, and this is probably going to be my last chance. And then I saw Dr. Lockdown's review. Go check him out. He's a pretty cool internet man. And I was like, all right, fine. I'll get the Seacons. And yeah, I waited a long time. There was a delay. It was supposed to come in October, and then it came on my birthday. So yes, now we're here. This is review 25, and yeah, we're reviewing the Seacons. So, this will be a bit different from my usual review. You probably saw the unboxing video yesterday. if you're watching the individual releases, but I'm going to split Review 25 up into 6 videos. One for each part, and then one for the combined mode. Later on, you might be watching the special edition, where I combine all the videos together. If I feel like I have issues with some of them, then I will remaster them, add elements, but yeah. So, today, we're going to start with so we're going to go for the leg bot, then the arm bot, then the torso, then the combiner. So today, we're going to start with one of the most awkward looking of them. The leg bot that is known as Terrormander. So to start off, we're going to look at Terrormander's beast mode. First off, I'm going to say it right now, I wish he had a Predacon symbol right there. There's room for it. I know it probably wasn't in the original show, but there's only like one Predacon symbol on this entire set, and that's on Half Shell. And I honestly think that sucks. I wish they had more Predacon representation. Besides that, let's actually get into the figure. This combiner bit is honestly really awkward. They did the thing where they flipped it upside down and boom, we got our mode. But what that does is make the legs freaking backwards and the tail be on the bottom. So if you look, there's the front and it's stupid. This is so incredibly dumb. Let me zoom in real quick. His feet are backwards. His legs are backwards. Now, this would have been fixed if they went like this, or like, say, give me a sec. They had the mode look like this. However, none of the paint is here on the butt, and this leaves a huge bit of gappage here, and it looks really awkward. So that's a simple fix, I guess, but we're going with the official mode, where the paint is on the top, and yeah. Speaking of paint, the one thing I can commend all of these bot modes for is the paint job. This paint job is beautiful. This honestly kind of comes down to the original color scheme of this team of Seacons, but like, they've got vibrant golds and bronzes and silvers, and honestly, this color, this kind of greenish, turquoise-ish metallic color is my favorite color in the entire set. Whether it be painted or sculpted, it just looks brilliant, and it's barely on any of them. I think, like the other leg bot doesn't have any, and one of the other arm bots doesn't have any. It only shows up on 3 of the 5 figures, and it only shows up prominently on the chest. So take that as you will. But yeah, I think that is a very beautiful color, and I wish it showed up more on the set. However, one of the big concerns going into the set, from what I can feel, is probably the white plastic. Now, this white plastic from promotional images honestly looked very similar to that of the Transformers Siege Ape-Face figure. That figure was often maligned for having a really awkward white plastic that almost looked a little gummy and a little bit tan. However, for most of the figures, we'll get to you later. It's fine. It's fine. So, if you look at this white plastic here, that's, say, on the tail or on the leg, it's a very nice, vibrant, high-gloss plastic that looks a little gummy, but overall, it just looks brilliant and vibrant, and it fits with the whole metallic tone that most of these guys are going for, which makes sense. However, then we get to the wings. Now, from what I can tell, these wings have the same issue that the color scheme-wise that the original one had, where the gray just kind of cuts off. I kind of wish this was gray too, or at least had a bit of a gradient into this color, but this color is where I have issues. It shows up a few other places, and honestly, this is the worst plastic on the set. Out of all the plastics, from what I've had for only handling this for like a week, this has been the most prone to breakage, which, thankfully, hasn't been too damaging to any of the bits that I have. I'll show you some of the other damage, but it's only been on the leg bots. And thankfully it's not in places where it's integral to the leg mode and not in areas where it's integral to the whatever. But this one probably has some of the worst breakage, but we'll get to it later when we get to the bot mode and the transformation. So yeah, this plastic is stupid. I hate this kind of brownish plastic. Like, you can compare it, it's kind of like a tan, and I think it looks ugly, I think it looks poopy, and I wish they went with a different color when going for it. However, this mode also has a couple of other issues. Once again, having the feet backward leads to balancing issues. You gotta really have these legs low to the ground and towards the center of balance, and even still, he tips forward way too often because he's very front heavy, but the legs and the feet are meant for a back heavy bot, so you kind of gotta lean him, like, and you can't get him to stand, and it's honestly quite stupid. However, I don't plan to leave them in their animal modes, but a lot of people are, because this is honestly the Seacon's most prominent form, and honestly, these are going to be acting as reviews of the original Seacon set as well, just with different colors. But yeah, like, this is annoying as sin. So I guess you gotta very much lean him forward if you're trying to get him to stand on these stupid poopy legs, you know? However, one thing I can't fault this figure for is all of the sculpted detail. Like, if you look at the sculpt outside of the paint, you can see there's a lot of detail. Like, if you look at the areas around the eyes, it looks very nice and mechanical. You look at this, the entirety of the wings, and they're very nicely mechanically detailed, which honestly makes them a bit of an outlier for Beast Wars, as a lot of Beast Wars went for organic detail, rather than highly mechanical. But since this is a G1 team, this team is a very mechanical team. But I can't say I don't like it. I love all the mechanical detail that shows up all throughout these guys, especially when it's highlighted by the metallic paints. It's beautiful. And from what I can tell, this metallic paint is probably not going to chip, because I've seen metallic paint on a lot of Hasbro figures and Takara figures, and it's very nice. I don't think that this paint's going to chip anytime soon, thankfully, because it's very nice and very vibrant. But honestly, the paint's used very sparingly, and it's mostly down to some of these very nice white plastics and some less than nice white plastics. But yeah. Now, unlike most alternate modes, I actually get into a bit of articulation on this figure. So, there's nothing at the head. However, you can use the waist swivel to turn the entire torso around, I guess, if that's your vibe. I guess, but like, I kind of wish the head was able to move a bit, but I get it for the transformation. For the wings, they're able to move forward, if you would like, you know, because, yeah, and they're able to move downwards, but not super well upwards unless you're breaking. It feels like you're going to break it. I wouldn't recommend doing it upwards like that. It's more so trying to move inwards like this. But yeah, it's a nice stingray look. Moving on to the legs, they are on 2 pins, which allows this side to rotate all the way, except it hits the wing, which makes sense. It's fine. And then this hinge. I feel like this should have been strong. This hinge should have been stronger. Once again, stability issues. Other than that, however, if you even try, it can fall down quite easily. However, it's able to hold a pose, except it's not even able to stand on its own, which is very annoying. I don't want to chip the nose paint. I don't think it will, but I don't want to accidentally chip it if it is chippable. And then the tail is able to move down. So yeah, not a lot of articulation, but it's a beast mode. It's to be expected. That's not what I'm angry about. I'm more angry about the bad wings and that. However, I think this is the better of the 2 modes that we'll be getting into. But first, let's get into Terrormander's size comparisons. So this size comparison is going to be a bit more in-depth than I usually do it, because his height isn't really the main thing you're going to want to look at. If you have him posed like this, he's going to be about like 3 to 3.5 inches tall. However, if you measure his length, he's going to be about, I'd say to the tip of the tail, about 6.5 inches long, and his wingspan is about, it's about 6 and like 3/4 inches wide. So, I'm sorry, I hit the camera. So, to do a couple of size comparisons, here we have the Marvel Legends Mark 7 Iron Man, the Star Wars Black Series IG-11, the Bumblebee movie Voyager Class Studio Series Optimus Prime, the Leader Class
Optimus Prime, that's tiny for a leader class. He comes with a lot of stuff, it's fine. But this is a deluxe class sized guy. This will become more funny when we get to the robot mode. But yeah. Another beast former in my collection, the Commander class Earthrise Skylynx. Sorry about that, I blanked for a bit. My previous review and fellow Predacon buddy, the Deluxe Class Throwing 30 Waspinator. And finally, the Mastermind Creations R19 Coulter, aka Tarn. I did not mention the accessories here, but I'll get to the accessories later, when we get to robot mode. So, to transform him, we are going to do a couple of steps. First off, you're going to want to pop these off if you put them on him. Using just simple 5mm ports, we'll get to them as they are accessories when we get to the accessories portion of the robot mode review. From there, I like to move on to the legs. So what you're going to want to do is split them down the middle, accordion them out. Make sure you be mindful of this. So yeah, accordion them out and slot them into place, which they should naturally go into accordion style. From there, you're going to want to use the mushroom peg to swivel the waist around, move to the back of the legs, fold up the halves of the tail that you have, fold up the beast mode legs, and fold them onto the side of the legs. From what I can tell, unlike a lot of the other beast legs, these ones don't really plug in anywhere. And honestly, you can fold them like that or like that. I like to fold them like that. And then boom, legs are done. Since the wings don't really do anything, I like to move them back a little bit. Like so. So we're going to move on to the arms. So, I'm going to pop the arms away from this, which I believe pops it out from there and from there. I'd say the best would be to do it downward. And here is where we get some breakage once we swivel this around. So if you can see, there's a little tab right there, which unfortunately on my copy after like 1 or 2 transformations, half of it sheared off. This is a problem with the brownish plastic on this set. We'll get into more detail on this brownish plastic as we get later on into the review. But for now, into the whole set review. But for now, as you can see, that's sadly sheared off. I wish it had better QC. However, you can also accidentally put it too deep into the hand if it'll focus. Focus, please. Focus. 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 Camera. Focus. But yeah, this side is just too deep in. Like, goodness gracious. So yeah, you're just going to want to difficultly with the tiny tabs that you don't want to break. Or just push it from there, flip out the hands from their little crevices that they're hiding in. You can, I prefer to use a tool to, pump them out, I guess. I'm going to use this sword from a Power Rangers figure and just kind of pivot them out and fold them up like so. And then you're going to want to do the same on the other side. However, this one's going to be much more difficult as it is stuck in. I'm going to take it off camera and do it off camera because that one got stuck in. So yeah, just be careful with them. And yes, as you can see, there we go. It is swiveled out, and you're just going to hinge it out as far as it'll go, and it won't go all the way, unfortunately. Now we move on to the head and torso transformation, which this just looks stupid. So we're going to want to unhinge this down. Don't unhinge this bit here. That's more so for later modes. And you're going to want to fold this bit open so that it kind of forms a pouch. Fold the head up and over into the little hole. It doesn't really plug in, it just kind of sits there. And then you're going to fold this up like that and fold those panels down, pose them in whatever way you want. And there we have Terrormander all transformed. And yeah, I think this is my least favorite of the bot modes. I think it primarily comes down to the chest area here. This just hangs down way too low. If this was like up higher, like say maybe this was shifted up to there, it would have looked much better, it would have looked more like a chest, but here it just kind of looks like a backpack that he's slinging over his torso, you know? Like when you put on your backpack wrong intentionally in class because you're a hip, young, cool kid. I definitely was the hip, young, cool kid, and not just the awkward, silent kid in the background who was basically a side character in everyone else's funny stories. Or, everyone's been calling it the pregnant look, and yeah, I see where they're coming from. However, like I said, this figure has breakage issues. Thankfully, it hasn't affected anything too vital. It's really just been a tab breaking off, and I think it's sturdy enough that actual bits won't break. Though then again, some of that confidence has been eroded away from a different figure in this set. We'll get to them next time. I honestly quite like how the wings look. They are honestly letting a bit of light through, but that's just because I have some very bright lights. Like, goodness gracious, I need to get like a light box probably in my future. I should probably get it for like Christmas or something. But I'm recording this before Christmas. This is definitely coming out after Christmas though. I'm sorry. But yeah. Let's get a closer look on him. Starting off with the head, this is ironically one of my favorite heads in the set. I think that's purely because it has a gray color, which all the heads except for the half shells are pure white. And honestly, that makes a lot of the detail get lost. So having a gray head like this does a lot of wonders. Though I think the lips are a bit angry for a new kid, but I think that's just nature of it being retaken from the original figure. That this is based on the original Generation Selects King Poseidon set. But yeah, I think it's quite nice. I really like the blue paint in the visor. It's done very well. There isn't much paint slop on any of these figures. I'm very happy with the paint job that Takara put onto these guys. Again, coming to the chest pouch, it's ugly. This is disgusting. I do like the white paint that they put on it. It's a very nice white paint, and I do like the gray plastic as well. I do love the gold here on the side. But like, look at that. Look at all that nice detail they could have gone through, but bwomp, boom. Just this ugly pouch just on his chest. It's disgusting. That's stupid. I hate it. Moving on to the arms, I wish these had a bit more painted detail, the upper arms. I honestly do. For now, they're just a bit of plain white. Having just plain white can be a bit overwhelming, but a lot of these figures do it pretty well. We'll get to it later. And then, since we're here, I'm going to move on to the wings. It's the same. It's the same as before. There's a nice little bit of bronze detail right there, but like it's the same. They have each wing has a pair of 5mm ports, which allows you to plug in any weapon from like Siege or any of the weapons that these guys have, as they do also use the 5mm port system. Since the lower arms creatively use the sides of the head, I think they look very nice. I do like this gray here at the top and then transitioning to the gold on the sides. I do really like how it's done. Of course, it's a bit hollow due to the transformation here, but since it's on the side, it's easily ignorable when you're doing basic poses with this guy or doing basic images if you use your work properly. And the hands, they are in that ugly kind of tannish plastic, but what are you gonna do? It's fine. It's a bit brittle, but just be careful. Be careful. Moving on to the waist and the upper legs, similar issues to the upper arms, a bit plain, but I do like the silver crotch paint, which looks like something, but I'm not going to say what it looks like because I am not a creep. But yeah, and we move to the lower legs, and more of that gold and green plastic really does shine. It's beautiful painting. It's some beautiful paintwork that I feel like a lot of people are missing out on because they got the original set, which, yes, also has some very nice paintwork, but I love the metallic tonings of this. And I also really like how the tail flips up on the back to give the legs a bit of definition. I think that's a very cool design choice. And then all of them have their legs kind of folded up like that, except for Half-Shell, the leader of the group. But he does it pretty well. There are other figures that do the concept worse. So now to move on to accessories, he has a decent set of them. We're going to be going over the accessories that come in the basic Generation Selects version from the original King Poseidon, but really, you can say that any of the accessories in the TT-GS10 set, whichever one you feel work best for him, you can put with him, which primarily goes into a couple of other figures with the main Shin weapons, the swords. So starting off with the most basic accessory, he comes with a hand. This is a very nice hand design, and of course it is able to be stored on the main body of the robot, but I don't like to do that because of personal preference. We'll get more in depth into these hands when we get to the main combined mode review. We will go more in depth with them there, because honestly I don't really like how they work with these guys, so let's just throw them to the side for now. Terrormander also comes with a trio of ranged weapons. First off, you saw these on the alt mode. These are his smaller guns, which honestly I really like on the alternate mode, placing them here on these portholes on the wings, like so. I'm doing this with one hand because I got my other hands full. I also like doing it there, but I feel like in this mode you're probably meant to put them in his individual hands, and you get two of them. And I like the designs. I like their designs. I think they're very nice, kind of small, tactile guns. However, one thing you can also do with them is combine them with the main weapon. And this one's honestly kind of stupid. I like the bronze painting on it, though. It's a very nice bronze painting. I think you also get this one with the Annihilator figure if you're getting the normal set. I didn't get the normal set, obviously, but I do like the brilliant bronze paint. And the plastic is the same nice. I like the gray. I think it's very nice. It's not Games Workshop gray, but it's a very nice kind of darker kind of gray color. So what you want to do is use the 5mm ports. If you want to combine them, of course, use the 5mm ports here on the side and plug them into the 5mm pegs on the sides of this weapon, and there we go. And you can just kind of place it wherever there's a 5mm port. However, you're probably going to put it in his hand, and I think that looks very nice. It's a very nice weapon, one of the better parts of this guy, you know? However, in this set, for the big combining weapon, which once again we'll get more in detail in the final combined mode, you get an axe. And I think this is my favorite of the smaller weapons. I don't really like the swords as much, but I do like the big sword. But these ones are the better kind of accessory for the smaller weapons. However, you can put the weapons in as you feel like. You can put the axe in. I'll give you my preferences for the weapons in mixing and matching. Since this is a set, you don't have to go with the stock configuration. I'll go for him, though. I'll say it. I like him with the gun better. I like having two guys with guns, two guys with weapons, and then Half Shell's just a guy who has whatever the hell he wants. But yeah, I like him being the leg guy with guns. He's just in the background there, holding his guns. Now that we've gone through the accessories, now I feel like it's a fitting time to go through the articulation. And the articulation is pretty standard for a Limbot of the time. So starting off with the head, it's on a basic bell joint. It's a nice bell joint. Yeah, it swivels. It doesn't really allow for much up and down, though, sadly. I wish I had more range in terms of that. Moving on to the torso, the wings are able to hinge upward and downward, as previously mentioned. They're able to hinge inward and outward, as with the original mode. I like to hinge them slightly outward. I think that's a nice look for him. Moving on to the arms, the upper arms are on a ball joint. I'm not super into ball joints for arm bits, but it's nice and tight. It works. It allows it to work basically as you would have a universal, where it's able to go all the way around, but it does get stopped by the wings, and it's able to move a whole like 90 degrees outward. Moving lower onto the arms, the biceps are on a mushroom peg based swivel, which allows them to swivel all the way around. Arms are on a hinge, which allows them to get a good 90 degrees, which gets used later on in the combined mode. And the arms, thanks to the hands, thanks to transformation, are able to move inward and outward, but not all the way, which that's honestly quite annoying. Now moving on to the legs, his waist is on a swivel. This is thankfully on every Limbot because of the way that it turns into the bicep swivel of the combined mode. The legs are also on ball joints, which allows them to move out about that far, move forward about that far, and thankfully the kibble doesn't really hinder the backward movement, allowing them to go all the way forward and back. The knee hinges are on basic hinges, though not the Combiner War hinge, which leaves a huge gap here. It's a bit annoying, but since it is on the side of the legs, it doesn't really hinder the visual too much. It's able to move forward a little bit, but mostly is used for hinging backward about 90 degrees. A little over 90 degrees, actually. And that's it. Sadly, no ankle rocker, but from what I can tell, that's to keep the stability of the combined arm/leg mode. So yeah, it's a bit more forgivable, but I do wish he did have that the extra bit of articulation. Now finally, to move on to size comparisons, he is about a little over 6 inch, from what I can tell, yeah, a little over 6 inches to the top of the head. And to compare him with some other figures, here we have, drum roll please, Merc 7 Iron Man, IG-11, Voyager Optimus Prime, Leader Optimus Prime, Sky Lynx, Waspinator, and Tarn. So yeah, all in all, this figure is fine. It's not a standout piece, it's just kind of mediocre. It's the worst out of this set, but it's not the worst figure I've ever handled. I've handled a lot worse than this. So he's passable. Most of his issues come from the visual perspective and the fact that the retooling hindered those legs from letting him stand up. So, yeah. He's fine. Pick him up if you like him, but otherwise I'd say pass on him if you're not going for the full set. So yeah. That's Terrormander, and yeah, this is a decent start, but next time, in the next section, we're getting into something a bit more exciting. We're getting into the only one of this set that is distinctly different from the original God Neptune set, or King Poseidon set. Scylla, the only female member of the group.